Take a sip of this delicious beverage. Ooh, baby. It's warm beverage season, and that's my favorite season. People sleep on this, and you'll probably judge me immediately. But one of my favorite drinks is warm Gatorade. And I'm talking like you go to Sam's Club and you get that giant, industrial sized thing of Gatorade, powdered Gatorade. Gatorade, powdered Gatorade, and then you go to your electric kettle or your however you heat it, and you make a gigantor thing of warm Gatorade, and you just sip that, and it's delicious. And people, every time I say it, people look at me like I grew two heads, and maybe you're right. But it's warm beverage season. Today, surprisingly, I don't have Gatorade. I ran out, so I just got warm water, and I fucking love it. It's cold outside. It's warm in my mug. Woo! It's a party time. All right, so aside from all that nonsense, I decided to take a bit of a break from social media. So you haven't seen an episode in a while, probably about a month. You're going to be getting probably an episode every 2 months. What I would like to start doing, and I think that this is where this podcast may grow its legs, is I had this idea to start going over my favorite cartoons from when I was growing up. I was born in the late 80s. If you don't want to do math, I'm roughly 33 years old. And I decided that, I had all these cartoons and these characters that I fucking loved growing up. Like, they have a concrete place in my heart. And I don't really know jack shit about them other than that I watched them every Saturday morning like religion. It's, it was, I feel like everybody had their thing. Did you like Looney Tunes? Did you like Dexter's Laboratory? Did you watch One Saturday Morning? There's tons of them. Were you an anime kid? Everybody seemed to have something that they enjoyed to watch as a child. And then I get into voice acting, and I basically have a chance to look back at these cartoons in a different light. Because behind every one of these iconic characters is a voice. Somebody in a studio who made up a thing, looked at some sketches for an idea for a character, and came up with some mannerisms, and brought this character to life. And that's what led me to this idea. I want to go back over, and I think I'll take an episode and I'll go over what we are dealing with, basically. Like today, I'm not going to tell what we're talking about yet, but it will come soon. We're just going to take one of them and dig a little bit deep into the voice actors, see what's going on. One of my favorite ones, I can't wait for the future, because I loved Ed, Edd, and Eddy. It's ridiculous. If you didn't see it, it's about these three dudes, and it's just, they live in a cul-de-sac. And they like jawbreakers, and they get into trouble, and they both have very distinct personalities. And I believe I talked about this in a past podcast, but if you're just tuning in, there is a behind the scenes on YouTube diving into the voice actors of Ed, Edd, and Eddy. And it's just amazing. It's fucking fascinating. There's some Canada boys. Once again, like the Ed, Edd, and Eddy almost didn't happen. Then it did happen and became mildly iconic. I think in my heart, it is iconic. It's interesting. It's worth the time. It's like 20, 25 minutes. Take some time out of your day. Check it out. So, you may ask, Skylar, yes, what are we going to go over today? Well, here's a little bit of a preview here. Let's get it started. So, here's your hint.
What's up, Doc? What's up, Doc? What's up, Doc? Well, certainly you are despicable. Well, certainly you are What's up, Doc? Well, certainly you are despicable. What's up, Doc? Well, certainly you are despicable. Well, certainly you. Well, certainly you. What's up, Doc? What's
Boy,
up,
that was a
Doc?
fucking train wreck. We're doing Looney Tunes, man. We're doing fucking Looney Tunes. Dude, who doesn't like them? Who doesn't know about them? I'm not saying that you have to love the Looney Tunes and think that they're the best cartoon or series out there, but you're at least familiar, and I guarantee you saw a Putty Cat, and you saw a Tweety bird, and you've heard of a rabbit who eats carrots and honestly sometimes kind of a dick. It's funny, we grew up on this. I say we, and I'm like, anybody, I don't know. Okay, well, basically, it was one of the first animated series that came around. So if you did grow up pre-2000s, you're familiar. You grew up watching part-time at least Looney Tunes. So let's dig into it here. I'm gonna try not to make this too boring and like I'm reading, but I actually did some research and I don't want to get things wrong. I wasn't the best at group presentations or single presentations in high school and in college, but I'm gonna give it my best shot here. So, Looney Tunes had an air date of April 19th, 1930. It's not just gonna be all facts. I'll try to sprinkle in some good shit. Their first animation was called Sinking in the Bathtub by Bosco, the talking ink kid. Now, it was a little before my time, so I had to go check it out. Interesting. Like as a animation style and not having any other things to go off of, like blazing the trail. Impressive. Weird in hindsight compared to what we got now. Like Paw Patrol and all this other shit. It's weird, but it's cool. It was a cool concept, and it probably took an absolute shit grip of minutes to put together and do. And man, they did it. It was cool. Once again, I'll put a link to it in the description if you want to check it out. So Bosco, this Bosco cat was a starring role in their first animation. This had a bit of a different voice acting twist. I mean, I'm not even sure. I don't think there was voices in it. I think it was just a soundtrack. And they had to pre-record it, so a little bit of an information. They'll have like their orchestra and all these people doing their stringed instruments, you know, the classic old school animation sounds that you hear. They just lay down that track, and then the animators would come in and be like, oh, they're doing this, so we should do this. And they'd write the animation over it. I thought that was kind of fascinating. I used to think, like in my mind, doing no research at all and just assuming absolutely everything, the person or people would write the animation and somebody would watch with a violin and be like, okay, he's going there and he's doing that and going there and doing that. No, it's the other way around. Thought that was kind of neat, you know, just food for thought there. So I found this interesting, and of course there was, because of course there was. That doesn't take anything away from it for me, what I'm about to tell you. But of course there was. There was apparently some racial undertones in this film. Because I don't know, the fucking 1930s, man. Yeah, it is what it is. But you know, it's still the first animation. You can't. I'm not going to. What do you call what they do? I'm not going to cancel the first animation because it was a little bit risque. I'll give respect where it was due, and I won't enjoy the racial undertone. You know what? I'll even enjoy it. I'll enjoy it. I enjoy the racial undertone. I'm not going to take offense to it. Those people aren't alive. It's not holding me down. We live in a weird world. Let's just love each other, whatever the fuck it is. Okay, anyway, back on track. This animation only spanned 3 years due to some copyright disputes. I mean, shit was going down back then even. And in 1933, the apparently racially undertoned Bosco was no more. Boo. But, you know, it's not the end of the era. It's the beginning of an empire. So what do we do next? It opened I told you I'm not a good group presenter, group being me. This opened a window for a new character to come to the stage. That's my Porky Pig impression. Porky Pig. He debuted in 1935 in Warner's Merry Melody cartoon, I Haven't Got a Hat. This pig, who doesn't know about Porky Pig, is responsible for Looney Tunes' signature phrase, "That's all, folks." Fucking love it. I fucking love it. You know, it sounds like, "That's all, folks." You know what it is. They slowly introduced other supporting characters, like the duck and the rabbit. And you know, this was okay. So I found this. It's kind of mind-blowing. So Porky Pig comes out in 1935, right? Who is known for like the Looney Tunes just mascot, basically? I would say personally, Bugs Bunny. When you think of Looney Tunes, it's hard not to think of fucking. It's
What's
hard
up,
not to think
Doc?
of What's Up, Doc. He didn't come to the stage until 1944, damn near a decade for them to develop this character. And I was like, damn, I thought Bugs was first because he's so famous. Once again, just making assumptions. I don't know where these cartoons came from. I just watched them as a kid. So this deep dive was it was really cool for me to go through this. So, if this is the most boring shit you've ever listened to, I do apologize. But also, I enjoyed it, so I don't apologize. Just, let's go on this ride together. So, of course, this thing, like I said, it became an empire. So there was, of course, beefs. Beefs would go down between companies. Warner used to beef with Disney a bit, but they had some pretty great technical strides, and Warner was able to introduce color into their animations in 1942. So that's just a little bit right before Bugs Bunny came on the stage. They were able to give him a nice gray tone and that carrot a nice orange color. And, animation really took a big leap at that point in time because color's a big deal. It's changes the game. It's more I don't know, palatable to your eyeball. Excuse me. In the 1950s, they were able to get their animations on TV. So I found this, well, I'm going to say it a million times, I found this fascinating. So the original animations were drawn frame by frame. So like if your hand moved here, they drew it. And then it moved up here, they drew it again. It moved up here, they drew it again. And this took for fucking ever. And eventually they were able to shorten this because they wanted to be able to put these episodes out more frequently and get them on TV. And they don't want to be like, all right, this is your yearly blah, blah, blah episode. So they changed their animation style from full animation to limited animation. And it dramatically changed the quality. You can tell what is limited animation and what is full animation. Now, limited animation, they draw like every 10 frames. So they draw like his hands here, his hands way up here. They skip a bunch. It saves time, tons of time. And then they like do this weird thing in the background where like they can move their mouth and it's not drawing each frame. It's complicated. I don't really know all the ins and outs of it, but I do know that it allowed them to speed up their animation quite a bit. But of course it came at a cost. And some voice actors out there say that like the long form animation was the golden age of animation. It's however you like it. I will say this. I'm going to put my opinion out there. And just because I'm an old fogey, you see some of these new, I'm going to say like children's animations because I'm talking about what we grew up watching. So these kids are growing up watching heavily, it's all computerized now. It's a ton of it. And because it's easier and you can vectors and blah, blah, blah. It speeds up the time. The quality is decent, but it is definitely not the same as long form animation. It hits different. It just fucking hits different. And it hits in a way that I seem to enjoy more. I'm not saying I don't like animations. I still watch them. I'm still a fan of it. I would love to voice one day, but I definitely, I see a difference. So, like, for a small tangent here, like in the movie scene, it's not my favorite movie, but it's one of my favorite movies that I like to watch, if that makes any sense, because I enjoy it so fucking much. But James and the Giant Peach, stop motion animation. That film took them 3 years of going to their table in their little sets and moving the character's arm just a little bit and taking a picture and turning the character just a smidge and taking a picture. It is a drawn out long art form, but it makes something pretty fucking cool, pretty enjoyable to watch. Storyline, meh, okay. Nightmare Before Christmas, don't hate me when I say this, meh, okay. But the style of it, oh, I'm just in love with it. It's so good. Okay, no more digressing. All right, so sorry, it's been cold, super cold here, and I go outside in moccasins and a shirt, and I come in and I go, oh, why do I have the snivels? So around 1960s, Bugs started to take the main stage with the Bugs Bunny Show, which was later renamed the Bugs Bunny and Tweety Show because Tweety, you can't have just a character hanging out by himself, doing some things. He needed a supporting actor, and a little Tweety Bird seemed to be a perfect thing. So the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show came to life. They were in and out as short features, mostly until Warner started using them to promote unrelated feature films of the company. So, smart Warner. They still take a while to make, and they haven't really caught on fully as the cartoons that we know, the Saturday morning cartoons. So they would use them as promotional tools. There's advertisements everywhere, correct? We live in the age of advertising. But Bugs Bunny and Tweety were OG advertising. You'd go to watch something at the picture show, and you'd see a short blurb of Bugs Bunny and Tweety Bird talking about what is up and coming, and it'll visually grasp you. The characters are likable, so you're like, ooh, it's the thing. They did that for a while. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed this. I put a note in here in my little notes. All these Looney Tunes got together for the first time in a film. Can you guess? I'll give you a second. Go ahead and guess. Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 1988? Year I was born. This movie holds up. I think it's gonna be one of those things that stands the test of time for forever. And it's great. Oh, hey, guess whose camera's unplugged? Okay, stand by. I don't want this film to die. I've had enough technical problems. I did it. Gold star to me. Plugged in my camera. All right, yeah, so fucking Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out. If you haven't seen it, which who hasn't? I'm going to say it for the umpteenth time. It's worth the watch. So they blend animations. Obviously, Bugs Bunny is not a real person. They can't bring him to the set. And they're real people. And so it's a live action film with animations. And it's just entertaining. And goddamn was I crushing on Jessica Rabbit. Enough to where, like, I did that, I painted that thing up off of it doesn't look exactly like Jessica Rabbit because I'm not exactly the best artiste out there. But I wanted to do one and I did one and I put her in here. So it is what it is. So, okay, let's get down to the grassroots brass tacks of this podcast. And I've already hinted at it. I was like, all right, so we're going to talk about the voice actors, right, of Looney Tunes. Tons of characters. Whoa, was I in for a surprise. I was humbly surprised. I said, everybody's got their GOAT, the greatest of all time. Troy Baker is one of mine. I just enjoy him. Will Wheaton's, I think he's amazing. His books and all that shit is just great. But I have to take my hat off to the actual GOAT, Mel Blanc. Holy shit. If you haven't heard of him, you're about to. Mel Blanc is the GOAT. If you heard an animated voice in any of the time of early animation, it was probably almost 100% of the time Mel Blanc. I'm not kidding you. Like, all right, let's get into this here. So I'm going to talk about him because he was it. He really was it. He was the voice of animation. He made his debut into existence. He was born, I guess. I'm getting witty with my wham writing things. May 30th, 1908. In San Francisco, California. He spent over 60 years performing on the radio, but is more remembered for his iconic roles in these little-known characters. Let's go over them real quick. Tell me if you've heard of them. He voiced Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Elmer Fudd, Porky Pig, Yosemite Sam, Sylvester the Cat, Tweety Bird, Sylvester Jr., Speedy Gonzales, oh no, that's a different one. Never mind. Foghorn Leghorn, and Henry Hawk. Marvin the Martian, Pepe Le Pew, Wile E. Coyote, Roadrunner, Tasmanian Devil. There's more. Also, I thought this was just ridiculous. The only one that kind of didn't fit in there for these old school animations, like who did Bugs Bunny always beef with? Well, Elmer Fudd, obviously. He was voiced by somebody else. A dude named Arthur Q. Bryan. And after Arthur Q. Bryan died, Guess who stepped up and did the voice? Mel Blanc. Of course he did. He does everything. He's the most talented voice actor of the time. All right, so later on, this isn't going to make sense. I did the best I can. Later on, Mel started working for Hanna-Barbera's television cartoons. So all those were Warner Brothers. Now he's got Hanna-Barbera, where he voiced. Oh, also, Hanna-Barbera didn't do the full animation. Like the Flintstones and all that, you can tell it just looks a little different. They did the limited animation, saving time. I'm sure it saves on the budget. Mel, in some of his interviews, he was saying that he didn't necessarily like it as much, but, he still a voice actor, work is work. And he came up with some, characters that he, in the end, liked. Barney Rubble from the Flintstones, Mr. Spacely on the Jetsons, and he also provided vocal effects for the Tom and Jerry cartoons, which are super. I mean, I wonder, tell me about this. So, how do you feel? A lot of these Tom and Jerry cartoons get a bad hype now because we've nerfed the entire world. And by nerfed, I mean like, oh my God, this cat is trying to hit a mouse with a hammer. Don't let them watch it because my child is now going to grow up and want to hit mice with hammers. I guess, what? What? No, I didn't hit a mouse with a hammer, and I watched it nonstop. I enjoy it. It is more violent. It is kind of weird. Pepe Le Pew's disgusting, but they write him like that, and you don't he doesn't become your idol. They write him Pepe Le Pew being a gross old skunk, and you go, oh man, that's gross. That girl, that female skunk, whatever, obviously doesn't like it. They don't write him to be the hero, and somehow they cancel him, whatever. I don't know. Read between the lines, I guess, is all I'm saying. All right, let's get back on task. All right, so he also voiced Secret Squirrel, Speed Buggy, which I don't know what that is, Captain Caveman, a ridiculous show, and Dino the Dinosaur, which was kind of just sounds, if I remember correctly. This giant collection that I just read to you earned him the title of the Man of 1,000 Voices. And obviously, he is regarded as one of the most influential people in the voice acting industry. Okay, let's get into it. Again, for the second or third or 15th time. Here's some history of Mel Blanc. I keep saying Blanc because I thought it was Blanc. Then I watched these old school interviews, which are super fun. It's like TV before TV. If you can grasp your brain around that. Like they had audiences and everybody's all done up in their perms and suits and stuff. And the co-host goes out and sir, tell me, the audience member, tell me about this. She's like, well, I would like to say that I really enjoyed knitting. And it was just a different time. And it was cool to see these old things. But anyways, they call him Mel Blanc. So I had to go from Mel Blanc in my mind and rewire it as Blanc. So I might have a little Freudian slip every once in a while. You'll have to excuse me. So a little bit about Mel's history. He started smoking when he was 9 years old. Because back in them days, you smoke a cigarette, you're going to grow tall, you're going to put chest on your hair, you're going to become a man's man. Or whatever they told you. Doctor said it was healthy. What a weird world. He smoked a pack a day until he was 77. So, of course, I had to do some math. 77 minus 9, for those 9 years that he stayed away from them cancer sticks, is 68 years. 68 years times 365 days is 2,000. Nope, can't count, can't read. The irony is not lost on me. 24,820 packs of cigarettes. Okay, let's break it down further. 24,820 packs contains about 20 cigarettes each. So in his lifetime, that's roughly 496,400 cigarettes. It's impressive. I was like, hey man, that seems like a lot. Yeah, basically if each pack was, I don't know, $4 to $6, you could buy a house. You could buy a house with that lifetimes of cigarettes. It's like a mid 150,000s. Okay, you might not be able to buy a house now, but you should be able to buy a house. How about that? Excuse me. All right, so he had a bit of a car accident. and it led to a kind of iconic situation. So he was in January 24th, 1961, he was driving alone in his sports car when he was involved in a head-on collision on Sunset Boulevard. His legs and pelvis were brokety broke. He done broked himself pretty fucking good. And it lent him to lying in bed in a coma for weeks. About a couple weeks go by. One of Blanc's neurologists come in at the UCLA Medical Center, and he tried a different approach, which kudos to this guy for thinking about this. They're going in, I'm assuming it was something like this. Mel, can you hear me? And Mel just be like, and Mel, are you responsive? We are doctors and we need to give you your cigarettes. It wasn't working. So this neurologist came in and he's like, hey, how you feeling today, Bugs Bunny? And then after a slight pause, in a weak voice, he goes, just fine, Doc. How are you? Like, what? Those characters are so ingrained in this man, in his heart, in his mind, that the external stimulus of being in character brought him out of a coma. Just let that sink in for a second. I mean, if Bugs Bunny and Tweety Bird and all these are somewhere in your heart, well, they were also in his. Enough to live deeply seated in his subconscious. The neurologist asked him again too, hey, Tweety, are you there too? And he goes, I saw a putty cat. Just like, warm in the heart, giving you goosebumps. Cool shit. So I didn't even write about this, but I remembered about it. In my homework, I was watching all these shows and they were talking about his accident. And they still did radio shows and recorded. It's not like today's times where you can just bring your Yeti mic and plug it into your laptop and record. They brought an entire recording studio to the hospital so this man could continue to do his radio shows and all this. And at first I was like, damn, dude, he doesn't catch a break. But that's not the kind of guy he is. Like, he wanted that. And I think it probably helped him get back on his feet because he made a full recovery. And still, I mean, he was in this industry for 60 some years. Just incredible. All right. So, let's see where we at here. Give me a second here. Yeah, let's not talk about he ended up filing a lawsuit where he got, in this accident. Let's just touch on it. It is history. So he filed a lawsuit against them for like $500,000 because they named this dead man's curve where he got in this accident. And it's sad, but sometimes this is what it takes. But they'll have an unsafe road in an area and they won't do a goddamn thing until somebody of note or somebody with some lawyers gets hurt there. And then they'll be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have a car do a 60-degree turn at 120 miles an hour. Like, I don't know what it is, but they got that fixed. And now, what happened to Mel hopefully doesn't happen to anybody else ever again. So on May 19th, we're going to end this. We're coming down to the that's all folks here. On May 19th, 1989, I was one. His family noticed he had a bit of a cough, which I found odd, him smoking a couple of cigarettes here. Turns out he had COPD and some pretty advanced coronary artery disease. He was hospitalized for 2 months and eventually succumbed to his illness at the age of 81. He had he had these characters in his mind and in his heart so much. On his gravestone, he had "That's all, folks" put on it. I mean, what a gangster! What an all-around gangster! He created this empire of greatness and voice acting and characters. And even on his way out, he's like, "Hey, man, put that shit on my gravestone." Just cool. And he seemed. I never met him. I say he was. I don't know. But I mean, I watched every episode of everything I could get my hands on Mel Blanc. And he just seemed like a nice guy, just caring and level-headed. And he talks about ego all the time. Like it's Hollywood. He's in Hollywood. And he's like, I don't like this Hollywood stuff. He's been in it the whole time. He doesn't like it. Because people would be like, well, this week I'm doing this and I'm working on this project and then I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to make some tacos and I'm going to go eat the tacos and I'm going to go to my other set and we're going to go do this. And he's like, people just talk about what they're doing and what they're trying to do. And you don't even know who they are. And he just tried to keep it real the whole time. So he kept himself distant, found himself a good wife, had himself a child, and taught the child all of his voices. So, is it Noel? I better get this right. Noel. 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 Man, I'll say it. I'm an idiot. His son got all of his voices, and there's a few clips online of them like bantering back and forth. And he, how cool that, I mean, people hand down tons, you might get a car from granddad, or you might get a house from your parents and all this stuff. Mel handed down his voices to his son. How fucking cool is that? And he did them. He did them, I'm not going to say as good, but you can't be somebody else. You've always got to put a little bit of your own twist on it. So he did them damn good, but it's not the same. You can see that there's slight differences here and there. But how cool, right? Like, dang, dude, handing down the voices. So, I don't know. Tell me how you feel about these episodes. If you like them, I know it's stumbly. I have like -5 energy today, even after all the caffeine in the world. But I wanted to get this out there. Mel Blanc is the greatest of all time. And he's in everybody's hearts and minds, whether you know it or not, because he led the march in voice acting for forever. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode. If you think this is neat, I do have a Patreon. It's in the description. Couple bucks a month, and I'll give you my audiobooks when they release. I've got a couple ones coming out, so get excited. It's science fiction. I like them. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. It's plugging myself. I'm tired I'm not plugging myself anymore. Hey, man, subscribe if you like it. If you don't, whatever. Thanks for listening.
What's up, Doc?